Hello to everybody who forgot to record this part when you were recording everything else, so now this part sounds wildly different. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, 1 phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. If you don't want an intro, I get it. I didn't time it exactly. It's about... Hold on, let me check. This is taking about 10 minutes. Just give it about 10 minutes. We'll put you right towards the beginning of the call. Sorry that took me so long. I had a brain fart. Anyway, enjoy it. Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. Before we say anything else, just want to say I hope everybody had good, safe, happy holidays. I hope everybody's enjoying the kickoff to this new year. I hope everybody is enduring the cold weather if you're from a cold weather area and enjoying it for what it is. Anyway, what an absolute pleasure. What an honor it is to be at the helm of this show. As always, I'm going to tell you right now, I am so excited because I just saw the first draft of the Beautiful Anonymous magazine. Our friend Alexis Politz, who's a great artist who has made some t-shirts and stickers and whatnot for the show in the past, is doing the layout of the magazine, and it is roughly 10,000 times better than I thought it could be, because I am not a visual thinker. So if you don't know, a few months back, I opened up a P.O. box. I encouraged people to start just sending me random things. Things came in from all over the world. I said, I'm going to organize this into a magazine. And what I wound up with was a big, giant box of stuff. And after a whole bunch of drama involving having to scan it multiple times, Alexis was able to take that random stuff and organize it in a way where when I saw it, I right away forwarded it to Andrea. I was like, yo, this is good, right? And Andrea was like, yo. So excited for some of you to see that magazine when it comes out. And the way we're going to do it is if you are subscribed to beautifulanonymous.com at the touchtone tier, you will get a color copy. If you're at the rotary tier, you'll get a black and white copy. And I'm going to try to print only as many copies as we need for that. I don't think there's going to be too many extras floating around. It's a thank you item, an exclusive thank you item for people who have signed up for all kinds of extra stuff over at beautifulanonymous.com, which of course includes your episodes ad-free, which includes extra time with the caller each week. If you're up at that touchtone tier, it also includes follow-ups with past callers. It includes a monthly taping where only people at that tier get the number. It's fun. It's good. Check it out. beautifulanonymous.com. Thanks to everybody who's been signing up. This explosion of signups has been really touching to me. We're above 1,200 people now. We're at 1,207. 2,000 feels like a long shot in a big way, but more within sight than it used to be. I can hold my head up high. I don't think we're going to get there. I would love if we did. And thanks to everybody who's been signing up, and thanks to everybody in the Facebook group who's been offering gift subscriptions to others. It is really kind and really meaningful that you all are trying to push it. And I would love to hit that money bonus if we get to 2,000, but we're not going to, and that's okay. That's okay, everybody. Anyway, what else do I want to talk about? I'm feeling this very strange mix of emotions. I'm feeling nervous about the state of the world and the news. It's hard to even read the news right now, right? People look what happened in New Orleans. People exploding cars in front of buildings for seemingly political statements in Las Vegas. This is really, really wild stuff happening. Hard to read the news, and it's grim and it's dismal, and it has me feeling very tense. On a personal level, for some odd reason, I'm feeling a confidence I haven't felt in a while. I'm feeling an optimism I haven't felt in a while. I'm feeling a motivation I have not felt in a while. And I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from. I wonder if anybody else out there is feeling it. If anything, my confidence has been lacking the past few years, and my motivation has been lacking the past few years. And all of a sudden, I feel it bubbling up again. Is this happening to anybody else out there? That as the world feels more grim on a personal level, you're feeling some strange desire to get your head back in the game and go for it? There's got to be a word for that in German, right? It sounds like one of those emotions that is complex and hard to explain in English, and that in America we have no word for. And then you find out somebody who knows German is like, oh yeah, here's a 7-syllable long word that explains the exact mixture of feelings that you're feeling right now. I will be shocked if there's not a German word for the combination of emotions I'm describing. This is a very nice segue, I think, into today's episode. Today's episode is one I will not soon forget. We recorded it a couple weeks ago. And man, you want to talk about a mixture of emotions. This caller lived through them. I don't want to talk too much about exactly what happened. Our titles always give a little bit away. I will just say the past sometimes crashes right into your present. People who you have not thought of in years come barreling through walls like the Kool-Aid man with no notice and affect your lives all over again. This can happen, and this happened for this caller in one of the most pronounced ways I've ever heard, where her past met up with her present and led to this motivation and this desire to do right by somebody who I don't even know that she owed that to. We're going to hear a lot about that. I will say there's also a very interesting confluence of things here, which I'll put out there right away that I'm well aware of, because I think some people are going to comment on it. There's moments of this story that are intensely personal, and I think you will feel me as the host sinking my teeth into those and trying to ask questions that bring more to the surface, and I'm proud of that. My feeling, because things start to come up naturally due to the nature of this story that start to verge into things that feel a little more political, not in an outright way, not in a Democrat, Republican way, but you'll see what I mean. And my guess is that if this caller and I sat down and talked about how we think certain things should be run, whether that's the criminal justice system, whether that's policing, my guess is that we'd have some marked differences in our views on the world. I think that that's right there under the surface. There's a few moments where we start to point that out about each other. But it's one of those things that I do love about this show that I'm reminded of with this show, which is all of those opinions are theoretical, but what this caller lived through is not theoretical at all. It showed up in her life and came to take up a big portion of her life, her time, her energy. And when it became not theoretical, I sit here, I go, right, when I remember that, this is lived experience. This is born out of these opinions of her are in at least some way reactions to her lived experience. Well, then what we don't do is dig in our heels and start getting on political soapboxes. We'll leave that to the Twitters of the world. We'll leave that to the Reddit comment threads of the world. When you're actually talking to each other, you find a way to take a breath and navigate around each other. Find the common ground on what's worth talking about. I don't know if I did a perfect job on that. You'll see exactly what I mean. It was fun. It was fun to try to navigate all these swirling pieces of this conversation. Either way, again, I don't want to call out too much about this one. I will just say, when you hear who this woman is, I think you're all going to go, oh, this lady seems cool and like someone I'd love. Like right away, this is someone I would love to wind up sitting at a hotel bar near. Or if I had a flight delay, this is someone I'd love to be near and joke around with. Just vibe, personality, chutzpah. This caller has chutzpah to the moon and back. And then when you hear about how someone from her past came to affect her many, many years later in ways she never saw coming, and in ways that came to really occupy her time and attention. It's one of those stories that you sit there, you go, man, truth is so often better than fiction. You can't make these ones up. You can't make these ones up. And it's why I continue to be so addicted to talking to real people, so fascinated by stories from real people. The stories that come out of nowhere and just blindside you. Can't tell you how much it means to me to help build this archive of human conversation, get stories like this on record. I'll stop rambling. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this one. Enjoy it, everybody. If you want more with this caller and every other caller, remember, beautifulanonymous.com. Enjoy this one. I know you will. It's wild.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
No way.
Hello?
Way over the top.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. I'm sorry, Chris.
What was all that?
Nice to hear your voice. Huh?
What was all that I just heard?
Oh, my office mates. I'm at work, and they were talking about stuff because there was such a delay, and it's like, well, and they all know I'm going to be on this call, so there won't be any interruption, I hope. Maybe Enzo might come in. He's our office mate. He's a dog, but he loves to be in my office, so we never know.
Office dog, and this isn't going to get you in trouble just in the middle of the workday talking with me?
No, not at all. Because they know this story that I'm going to tell you, and they're all like, you need to tell lots of people this. Like, it's so crazy.
That's a good tease. That's a good tease right there. So
I know. Well, I've been listening to you since you first came on, and I'm older than most of your listeners. That's another thing. But once this happened to me, I was like, oh, the perfect place to tell this would be Beautiful Anonymous.
That could mean so many things.
I know, but I think you'll be kind of blown away. But so I have been married twice. My first husband I was married to for 10 years. We lived in a big city. He was born and raised there. And we divorced after 10 years. I left that city, moved back to where I am originally from, and I met the love of my life and remarried. I've been married to him for 25 years, so it's been a while. I get a call in 2019 that was a number from the city I lived in, and I thought, I don't think, you would never pick up a number you don't know, but something made me pick it up. It was a detective from this city asking me if I know this person, my ex-husband. And I said, oh God. I thought, oh my God, what did he do? And I said, yes, but I haven't spoken to him in 20-something years. I haven't had any contact with him. And he said, you don't understand. I'm sorry to tell you this, but he's deceased. And I said, oh. And they said, and you're the only person we could find as a next of kin. I went, what? How can that be? How can it be that I, who haven't spoken to him in so long, could be his next of kin? So he was murdered.
Wow.
He was murdered. Yes. And it was on the news, but it wasn't a big story, mainly because I don't think they could put his name out or any of the details because they hadn't reached a next of kin. And when they talked to me, it kind of floated over and they moved on to the next big thing. But he had an altercation with a woman in a bodega. he was walking in, she was walking out. They probably hit each other or, bumped, and they had words. And this is on tape. I've seen the tape from the store. And she left the store. The guy threw her out. The owner threw her out. And my ex got his coffee or whatever and was shooting the shit. And she came back with a knife, jumped on him, and stabbed him in the heart. Or I think it was in the upper chest, and he bled out in the bodega.
And you saw video of this?
I didn't see that part. I saw because they cut it off. Like they didn't let you or make you. Yeah, they didn't let me see the whole thing. No, but they also told me she live streamed it. I mean, this woman was crazy. It was a younger woman, and they knew each other from the neighborhood, but he was older, much older than her. And here she is. I think she was just a crazy person. She's really like an entitled person that kind of used the system her whole life. She'd lost her children. She had drug and alcohol problems. She shit on a bodega floor at one point. That was I found that tape. And I'm like, you got to be crazy.
Please don't make me laugh in the middle. you
can laugh. I'm laughing.
I'm hearing this really intense story, and then you just drop that there's also tape of her shitting on a bodega floor. I do also have to point out, I'm fairly certain, just based on your accent, that I can guess what region you're from, because you do also have the perfect accent to tell a story like this. You're either a New Yorker, New Jersey, maybe Philly, but I'm thinking New Yorker all the way.
Well, it's so funny because it was New York. And so I can say that it's New York City. I did not grow up there. I didn't belong there. People tell me all the time that I have a New York accent, but I grew up in Connecticut. So, but the 10, 15 years I spent in New York City must have made a huge impact on me because, I say radiator and Earl.
I mean, you just said my time in New York must have had a huge impact on me. And also just to be able to say he was just going in for his coffee. And then, I mean, this girl took a shit on a bodega floor. I'm like, that was a crash course of 10 years. Cause that's some New York shit you just dropped, both in accent and content.
I think because I grew up near New Haven, Connecticut. Yeah. And I think if you live in a certain place in Connecticut, you might be a Yankee fan. And if you grew up in another place, you might be a Boston fan. So it's like I'm right in that line where I would pick that up. But I know that people, and I live in a place now that has a very distinct accent, which is not New York.
So you really stand out. Yes, and it is not to get too nerdy either, but New Haven's also legendary for their pizza, and that you can research that, and a lot of that is because a real wave of Italian immigration happened there that I do think keeps New York and New Haven sort of connected because of that similar wave. Anyway, let's focus back up. So you find out your ex. So if the person who did this, and it sounds like really a troubled person based on what you described, based on some of her other encounters with the system, with defecating on a floor, really troubled person. But if she was live streaming, this was pretty recent because that technology is within the past, 10 years?
It was 2019. Yeah. It was 2019. So you before the pandemic. Yes.
So before the pandemic. So this means you divorced your husband right around Y2K, like right around the turn of the century?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. We were married in 85. We divorced in 95.
You divorced in 1995. Yeah. Stopped talking a couple years after that then.
Yeah, like a year. Actually, it was less than a year. Yeah. I finally said to him, stop calling me. Every time you call me, I have my, the night before I get my period. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm not your friend. I'm not your wife. I'm not anything to you anymore. Please don't call me. And that was kind of the last time I heard from him. And I kind of felt bad about that because he was the wrong person, but we had a lot of fun, a lot of good times. But I felt like when we divorced, my life shot up like an arrow upwards, and his life went down into the gutter. He relied a lot on social services, and he was a veteran, so he got a hold of like whatever he could. He was living in an SRO for veterans when this happened in the Bronx.
Serve in Vietnam?
He didn't. This is another pretty interesting story. The night before induction, he went out with his friends, and they all got drunk. And he got into a fight, got a cut beneath his eye that was close to his eye, got stitches, and they deferred him for a year. All the people that he was supposed to go with, all his friends, went to Vietnam. A lot of them got killed. He went to Germany, where he got married for his first time. But he's quite a character, very charismatic, interesting guy, but not the person I should have married or stayed with. And I'm glad it happened when it happened. But so after I get this call, now I've got this in my lap. What do I do with this information? I'm not his next of kin, or at least he came from a very small family. Like they said, is there anyone else you can think of? Is there any cousins, any aunts, uncles? Or because parents had been dead a long time. He was an only child, even though he was in an Italian family. And his family was pretty small. And I said, but don't they know wouldn't he have friends that lived in the SRO would have known him? I don't imagine that he was that quiet a guy that he wouldn't share information, at least, where he came from, who he was still in contact with. It was very bizarre that I was it. And then for a year, I kind of thought about it, what's happening? She was arrested right away. And I was and the coroner called me, and I'm like, what do I do with all this? Is it mine? Is it my burden to deal with this now? Not burden, but responsibility. Is this my responsibility? So I started to think about it, and I finally, after a year and going, am I entitled to information as the ex-wife who didn't speak to him for over 20 years? Am I entitled to information about what's going on? So I did call the Bronx DA. I got the case number. I found the district attorney handling it, and it was a woman initially, and she said, "Oh, I didn't call you," and I'm like, "No," and she asked me a lot of questions, and she said, "I'm sure that we'll be in touch with you," and then I didn't hear anything, so I called again. 6 months after that. And then I was calling regularly because I got the right person, and they kind of kept me in touch with everything. She was in jail, and here we go. COVID happened. So it's delay after delay after delay. It was just a big bunch of things that delayed everything. She was filing motions. She was wanted to be declared incompetent. She wasn't declared incompetent. She had all these, she knew how to play a system, that's for sure. So it was finally, I think, a couple years later, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I am a very removed person from this, but if you're a parent or you're a spouse of someone who is murdered and you have to wait like this and you never get it resolved, not that you ever get it resolved if you're that close to it, I can't imagine not having it work for you and just be floating out there with nothing, no contact, no this is what's happening. So they finally get around. They're going to start talking a plea deal with her. Now, I watch Law and Order. I play a detective. 13 years. I went, what? 13 years? A man lost his life. She should get 25 to life. Well, blah, blah, blah. We wouldn't be able to get a hold. I don't care if you can't get a hold of the original detective. 13 years? And he said, well, will you accept that? Accept it? Me? It was shocking that I had the yay or nay. And I said, I don't accept it. But I can't tell you not to go ahead because I want him to get some justice. I want it to be over for him and me.
We're going to go ahead and pause there because we got ads. Ads are the reason I can bring you stories like these. It's what keeps the lights turned on around here. We'll be right back. I love IQ Bar products. I had an IQ Bar for breakfast this morning. I had an IQ Bar for breakfast yesterday. And I will remind you, no one loves IQ Bar products more than my wife, Hallie Bullitt, who's particularly enamored with IQ Joe, which is their jitter-free coffee in the morning. It's got natural caffeine. It boosts focus. It boosts your mood. It's got magnesium and lion's mane blend. And I will tell you, anytime I have IQ Bar stuff show up at the house, my wife starts yelling the words coffee sticks, and she even does a little coffee stick dance. It is really cute, and I like it. And anyone who's been listening for a while knows, I never bring up my wife unless it's 1,000% real. And in this case, I will tell you, if you ever meet Hallie Bullitt, ask her, are the coffee sticks from IQ Bar as good as Chris claims? And she will honestly talk to you until you walk away. This is not a joke. I love IQ Bar because I'm pretty busy. It is quality stuff. And to start your new year off right with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack includes all three. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners an exclusive deal, 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. That ultimate sampler pack, it's a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 7 IQ Bars, 4 IQ Mix Sticks, and 4 IQ Joe Sticks. All IQ Bar products are entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners. Snack smarter with IQ Bar. More fiber, less sugar and carbs than the alternatives. 9 satisfying flavors. My favorite is the mint chocolate chip. I had that the past 2 mornings. I also love the banana nut. Lemon blueberry is ridiculous. Peanut butter chip, obviously, and more. IQ Bar makes the #1 brain and body nutrition bar, hydration mix, and instant coffee in the U.S. Over 15,000 5-star reviews and counting. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus get free shipping. To get your 20% off, just text BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Text BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. That's BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. I'll tell you one thing about me. I am not a great sleeper. Historically, it's really tough. And I do my best to change my sleep habits. You set a strict bedtime, right? You keep your phone out of reach. You make sure that your pets aren't running in and out of your room. That's a new factor for me now that we got the dog. A lot of effort. And what happens is you start thinking really hard about your sleep routine. And then, of course, you're in your head about it and it only builds. But I will tell you, one simple thing is just make sure you have high quality stuff as part of your actual sleep experience. And it's why I'm so excited to tell you about Boll and Branch. If you really want to change the way you sleep, upgrade to Boll and Branch. It's 100% organic cotton sheets. You will fall asleep faster with a luxurious softness that puts you in instant relaxation mode. You'll spend every night in buttery, breathable comfort and feel your sheets get softer with every wash. You can discover the difference with Boll and Branch's 30-night guarantee. I got to tell you, on my end, I got the waffle blanket, and I've never had a blanket that provides that much warmth, but that also breathes so easily. It gives me all the heat I need, but it's not all heavy on my body. It is really a game changer, and it's been helping me so much. If you're out there and you're somebody who tosses and turns a lot at night, if you're somebody who gets in your head about the sleep experience, I honestly think you would be well served to look into Boll and Branch. The quality goes a long way. The sheets will change how you sleep. The blankets will change how you sleep. And again, these are a quality product that are built to last. Not only are they great right out of the gate, but the more you wash them, the softer they get, and it's really remarkable. That waffle blanket in particular, I can tell you, has been an absolute game changer for me and my sleep experience. And I think it can do the same for you. Boll and Branch products are made different so you can sleep better at night. Woven with the finest 100% organic cotton on earth, crafted by artisans who earn the pay and respect they deserve. The signature hemmed sheets. Those are amazing. Designs and colors for every bedroom style and mattress size. These are all season sheets. They have a breathable, unmatched softness to start. They get softer with washes. They are the perfect foundation for Boll and Branch's airy bed blankets, cloud-like duvets, so much more. And guess what, everybody? There's a 30-night worry-free guarantee. You can try Boll and Branch sheets for an entire month. Seriously, you can wash, style, and feel the difference for yourself, risk-free. If they don't change the way you sleep, you can send them back for a full refund. Now's your chance to change the way you sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/beautiful. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com/beautiful. You'll save 15%. Exclusions apply. See site for details. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2025, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for wireless? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you maximize your savings with plans starting at $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. Think about how much you could be saving right there. $15 a month. That is a head-spinningly low number compared to what you are probably paying right now for your mobile experience. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. That's the one that drives me nuts, is when the bill is so different every month and you go, why? I behaved the same. Why is this changing so much? Mint Mobile is here to rescue you from that. They've got premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's limited time deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/beautiful. That's mintmobile.com/beautiful. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/beautiful. $45 upfront payments required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Thanks to all the advertisers who help keep the show going. Now let's get back to the phone call.
And I said, I don't accept it, but I can't tell you not to go ahead because I want him to get some justice. I want it to be over for him and me. So she finally, and then more back and forth. And then she accepted the plea deal and immediately appealed it on the basis that she's a domestic abuse survivor. I saw red. So she's already been in jail for 4 or 5 years, and 4 years. And now she's going to do this to delay it even more. And all I can think of is people who, if it's their loved one, and you want that closure, you want that, and she's delaying it again. She went through court. I have the 42-page document where a quote-unquote doctor was the only person to testify, never even met her until the day of the hearing, and went through all this garbage about who she was and why she should get this special treatment because she was a domestic abuse survivor. And thankfully, the prosecutor, who was wonderful, he was contacting me quite a bit. And he was able to, the judge, it was a judge trial, not a jury trial or appeal. And they said, no, you got to serve the whole nut. You can't. There's no evidence here that being a domestic abuse survivor caused you to leave a place, go to one store and try to buy a knife. They didn't have a knife. Go to another store and try to buy a knife. Go back to the original store with the bought knife because you couldn't open it. There were so many opportunities for this not to happen. And then your rage must have been building for what? To take someone's life? But she's saying, I can do 13 years. This is what's wrong with this. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I love knowing that. I mean, we have 43 minutes left, and I get the sense that if you just want to go off about your injustices of the system, you could probably do that for 43 minutes. Because I grew up around a lot of people like you. Like, I feel very at home with you. But here's one thing I'm really fascinated by. It's such an incredibly unique and odd situation to hear that your relationship ended with like, hey, this marriage was a bad idea. You have a bad habit of calling me when I'm about to start my period. Leave me alone. That's like it's charming and funny, and you're able to nail down the laugh, but I'm from the East Coast too, and I know, like, this is not reflective of something that went well in the end. Like, you're married to a guy for about a decade, and then you're going, get lost. Like, this is how it ends. So when you're fighting for justice and feeling like his murderer is getting away with it in a way that's clearly getting under your skin and figuring out how to shave time off of it, how much of you is kind of digging in your heels and participating in this on behalf of the man you knew? How much of you is saying, no, the system should not be built this way, and it's more of a general, how can you kill somebody on film, live stream it callously, and then start figuring out all the ways to reduce your sentence? How much of it's personal to you? How much of it is systemic?
I would definitely say it was more the second. I did feel for him, but I also felt you're living in an SRO. You didn't make anything of yourself. You have nothing left. This may have been a blessing for you to leave this world. But it wasn't fair that it was not your choice. It was somebody else's. And that's where the law came in and started to screw around with all of us, saying, well, he didn't have anybody, so why should we go to court, or why should we waste money on a trial? And that started to really get me fired up about this. And there was very little I could do, very little. I mean, I'm 3 or 4 states away. I can't, because they would say, well, can you come down? And I'm like, no, I can't come down. What do you mean? I don't live in New York. I'm not going to just come down. I'm calling you to find out information, and I want to speak with somebody. It just really opened my eyes, and what these people, I don't know how they do the job they have to do, these court people, the prosecutors, and how they do this for so long. I mean, it would kill me to have to say to a mother, well, they accepted a plea for 13 years because, they killed your kid. And I'm sure that happens all the time in New York. I just know it.
Yeah.
Just from my deal. And how do we change that? I mean, I'm at the last act of being involved in anything. I mean, I know I could live a lot longer than I'm living, but I mean, I'm not young. I'm not a young person, and I don't have the stamina to change the world the way I did when I was in my 20s. So I hope somebody hears this and goes, there's something wrong with a system that does this to people. And even her, I'm thinking, why was she just walking around on the street if she was so screwed up? I know there's not enough social workers in the world. There's not enough help in the world. There's not enough family interaction. There's so many people who are broken, especially in spaces that are tight like New York. And I don't know the answer, but somebody's got to figure it out, or else everybody better move out of New York. That's what I'm thinking.
There's a lot of wild aspects to this, and I sit here and I go, it's almost this weird hand of fate for you to be almost entirely emotionally disconnected from this man being your former husband. Like, by the time this happened, you had been, if I'm doing my math right, you had not spoken to him for almost twice as long as you were married to him.
Exactly.
But I also get the sense that you are someone of a moral code and with a sense of ethics where if you had randomly been contacted one day, and this is not a function of how the American court system works, but if they had contacted you and just said, hey, we need a surrogate, there's been a veteran who lives in an SRO, which I for anybody listening, you dropped that phrase a couple of times. I believe that stands for single room occupancy. These are things that are kind of all over the country, but there's sort of an iconic look at like an old school New York rough life where these are a lot of, you see them even in gentrified hip neighborhoods. You'll still see them. When I lived in Greenpoint, there was one that's like, a lot of times they are like old converted boarding houses or hotels.
Yeah, or hotels. Yeah.
Where there might, a lot of them are like these old school New York buildings that never got updated, where there's like each individual room.
Share bathroom.
I was just going to say like a bathtub in the hallway and everybody shares one toilet and you get your own room with a single bed in it. And it's tough living. And a lot of the people are on government assistance, or maybe, they get associated with addicts or people on their way out of prison in a halfway house type environment. Like, this is an iconically tough life. I get the sense that if someone just reached out to you and said, hey, so we're starting a new system for people who have no family, who we need an arbitrator to serve as their family's opinion in the sentencing of their murderer, that you would be a person, you'd be first, you'd go, yep, great, let's talk about it, let's do it. I'll try to summon that. Like, you are almost custom built to have a heart that thinks this way. And then very randomly, this man who in the course of what, you've mentioned a few times that you're older, you go, I had a 10-year period with this guy, but that's becoming a smaller and smaller percentage of your life. And because of your relatively brief connection to him, you now are standing in as sort of the moral code for the court system in a way that's astounding.
Yes. Yeah. That's why it's such a crazy story. Like, is that, like, I believe in fate and in purpose in your life. Was that the reason I married him? It was, was that like the train track that I was put on to serve this purpose? It's crazy. I must say, I married a wonderful man. We just had our 25th wedding anniversary. So, if you keep doing the math, I'm in my mid to late 60s. So it's a crazy life that you live, and you look out for these things and say, they don't happen to me. They happen to other people. They happen in the movies. They don't. They happen to you. They have to happen to somebody. No idea was created in a vacuum.
You live long enough.
Here it is. Yeah. Something like crazy is going to happen that puts you on a path, that it's almost like sliding doors, I could have walked away from him after our first date, and his life could have been different. And he might have still ended up dying this way. And who would there have been somebody for him? And it's sad that people end up like that,
Yeah.
But I am a very moral person. I'm a very caring person. And like, I'm the person, when I lived in New York, they used to have these things called letters from Santa. You'd go to the main post office in 34th Street, and there were these bins of letters to Santa, and you could call them out and answer them. So I would go through and find something manageable, and then send whatever this person was asking for to you. Send them what they were asking for. That's just the kind of person I am. And I'm like, well, good thing I had all that moral compass to be able to somehow, because God forbid he had no one. I don't know if she would have just gotten off. How crazy is that? And how many people does that happen to, where the person just gets off? I want to take out the part that she was crazy, because I don't believe, I know plenty of crazy people. I have them in my family too, but they wouldn't murder somebody, it's got to be a hard thing to kill somebody.
Well,
and I hope that he spends this time thinking about that.
I also will sit here and say, like, I actively work for a nonprofit that focuses on mental health. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who cares more about mentally ill people not being stigmatized than I care about it. But even with that being said, you can sit here and you can go, it all continues to tumble, right? Like if a system is built that allows a mentally ill person to go so far as to kill someone and then start manipulating the system purely to get some of that time peeled off their sentence, you sit there and you go, does that help that person in any way, even if they are mentally ill? Or is this system just built to go, all right, first you can harass someone, then you can defecate on a bodega floor, and then eventually you can kill someone in a bodega? And you go, there's an argument to be made that even if you do have compassion for this person for being ill, that the system is clearly failing her, in the sense that when someone shits on a floor, and I'm not saying this facetiously, that's a massive cry for help. That's a massive red flag that this is a potentially dangerous person who needs a lot of help. And if the system's not going to help them, there are infrastructural failings. But what we can't do is validate it or not correct it in any way. And I hear you on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I for many of these past years, I felt anger towards her. She was using the system by saying she slipped on the floor and hurt her head, banged her head. So now she has brain damage. And then there was another, she sued a whole bunch of people within the governor, the corrections officer, Rikers Island, the mayor of New York, all these things. And how did she know that? Was she crazy, or was she crazy like a fox? But that finally got away from me after I read some of the 42 pages, because in some part she did say that she felt bad. And I think it was because, now you don't have access to drugs and alcohol, and now you're in a and I don't know, there may be plenty of access to drugs and alcohol in the prison, but I'm thinking that once she became the person without all that noise, she was, felt bad about what she did. Doesn't mean you don't pay your debt to society, but I started to see it like maybe she was enraged for a lot of reasons and she just took it out on this person. And that doesn't make it right, but hopefully she can get some help. But on the other hand, I'm cynical and I don't think she's getting much help in prison.
We're going to go ahead and pause right there because we got to pause somewhere. And this is the point at which we are pausing. We'll be right back. It's the new year. It's time to focus up, get back into the swing of things, all of those holidays back to back to back. They have you off kilter. Well, one of the best ways to get back on kilter, to start shaking off that post-New Year holiday craziness, Thrive Market. This is going to be one of the easiest ad reads I've ever done because my family's been using Thrive Market for years, way before they advertised on the show. Thrive Market is really incredible, and we have been so blown away and so psyched at the Thrive Market experience. And that goes, like I said, for about 4 years now. My family and I have been Thrive Market customers, and they're a great company. You want to know what's a crazy statistic? Over 10,000 chemicals have entered our U.S. food supply. The European Union, they limit this to just 300 additives. I bet you've been hearing more and more about this, that there's all kinds of chemicals allowed in America that aren't allowed in Europe. I got to tell you, though, I don't have time to sift through the ingredient labels to see what's in my food. It's why I love using Thrive Market. Thrive Market is incredible. They make it easy to find better options without the hassle. They have a healthy swap scanner in the Thrive Market app. It's simple. You scan any item. It'll instantly suggest cleaner, healthier grocery alternatives. You can swap out sugary snacks for high-quality swaps on things. One of my favorite brands I've discovered through Thrive Market, Lesser Evil, is a great example. So Lesser Evil has popcorn, has things that resemble what I grew up calling, cheese curls, and they just have a healthier style with less chemicals, less additives, less of the nonsense, and it tastes not just as good, but better. Thrive Market takes the guesswork out of finding safe and healthy food. Their products are 100% non-GMO, free from over 1,000 harmful ingredients. Their on-site filters make shopping super easy. If you want dye-free snacks, non-toxic cleaning products, high-protein meals that fit your dietary preferences, Thrive Market has you covered. We order our dog food from Thrive Market. We order a whole bunch of items that are compostable through Thrive Market. That's another thing that is not written here in the ad copy that I want to call out. It's great. I love Thrive Market. If you come to my house, you will honestly see that so many of my Christmas decorations are stored in old Thrive Market boxes. My Halloween decorations, we've been using them for years because they're great. If you're ready for a junk-free start to 2025, head to thrivemarket.com/beautiful stories and get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/beautiful stories. thrivemarket.com/beautiful stories. I get my toilet paper from Thrive Market. We got our dog food from Thrive Market. I eat so much of my food from Thrive Market. Their frozen meals are incredible. I could keep going, but I won't. Just go check it out. thrivemarket.com/beautiful stories. So happy to once again tell you about Delete Me, which is a service that I personally use and that has helped protect me and my family in ways that I am incredibly grateful for. And I can tell you from personal experience, Delete Me is out here setting the bar very high when it comes to the protection of your private information, to the degree that I have gifted subscriptions to friends of mine who I know worry about things like this, and sometimes rightfully so. And it feels so good to be able to gift subscriptions to Delete Me to friends of mine who are dealing with harassment or dealing with feeling that they need more privacy for the safety of their family. It's such a good thing to be able to pass on to others, especially because I know how great the service is personally. Because what you might not know is that so much personal data floats out there on the internet for anyone to see. your name, contact info, social security number, your home address. Where it really starts to feel head spinning is when you realize your family members' info all gets attached to you. It's being compiled by these people called data brokers. These are very bad actors. These are people who sell your info online for profit. And you can imagine all that info might put you in danger, whether that's people looking to impersonate you, whether that's people looking to stalk you, whether that's people looking to just harass you. A lot of times your phone number gets out there. That's why you start getting all these spam calls. Why not go with people who are total pros at protecting that information? Because you guys all know, I exist publicly. I share opinions online. Ever since Cal was born in particular, I've been so hyper aware of safety and security. Privacy matters to me more than ever. And that data hanging out on the internet, it can have such real consequences. And I will tell you, I used other services in this sphere. I thought they were doing a good job. I signed up for Delete Me. They found dozens and dozens of data brokers that the other ones missed. And I will tell you, I just had the coolest experience where Delete Me gave me one of my every few months reports on how things are going. And they found zero that had been added on. They had successfully chased my info off of all the data broker sites, and it was not even being added back in. And they are staying on top of it. It's why it feels so good to not just be a Delete Me customer, but to also have gifted it to some friends in my life. I personally recommend it. Use it. I choose Delete Me. Delete Me is a subscription service. It removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. These people are out here profiting off of your data. That's a commodity to them. Identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, unwanted spam calls. Protect your privacy with Delete Me. Sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what info you want deleted. Their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, what they removed. It's so cool when they send you that list of things. Hey, we found this, we removed it. They tried to add it back here, we removed it again. Makes you feel like someone's really looking out for you. It's not just a one-time service. They're always working for you at Delete Me, constantly monitoring and removing the personal info you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal info from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners and their loved ones. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use the promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful. The code is beautiful. Thanks once again to everybody who sponsors our show. Now let's finish off the phone call.
But on the other hand, I'm cynical, and I don't think he's getting much help in prison.
No, and I'll tell you what, too. I think you mentioned that this happened in the Bronx, if I clocked that correctly.
Yeah.
I'll also say this, and for the people who like to say I'm too woke, you're not going to like to hear it. I might say that I'm somebody who thinks hard about class divide in this country, but I'll sit here and I go, the system's also built in a way where you go, and I lived in New York for 16 years. You lived there for 10. Anybody who spent time in New York knows, yeah, the neighborhood that has the veterans with no one and no place to go is in the same neighborhood where a mentally ill person can take a shit on a business's floor, and perhaps the city is a little too willing to go, well, those are the neighborhoods where all those people live amongst each other. Whereas you could probably go a half hour north of wherever this happened, and you could wind up in a town like Scarsdale or Rye, where if someone takes a shit on a floor, an ambulance is sent to them, and they are having a mental break. We have to help them, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody gets killed.
That's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. Like, when I say his life went down, didn't go into Scarsdale. It went to the center of the worst neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's the people who learn to use the system because they have to stay alive. And I also think it's systemic when you see your parents act a certain way, and someone's parent in Scarsdale would not use the system for food stamps or time off on a jail sentence. Yet you learn that being in a rough area. that will do it. I just hope and pray that when I wrote my victim impact, I'm a victim. I mean, I was like, how is this? But I felt like compelled to write it because who would write it? I knew him, and I was, in love with him at one point. So I had to. And I didn't write it from the point of view of me, but the point of view of society. That, but for the fact that they crossed paths, he'd be alive today, and somebody else would be dead. So what obligation do we have as a society to stop this from happening? God forbid she had a gun. She could have killed more people, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have guns or any of that. I mean, just saying that there has to be accountability for how these things happen. And if it's our fault that we put her on the street without any help to wallow in her sorrow of being constantly beat down and never get a leg up, then she did this and hurt society. But if we don't help her, she's going to do it again. She's going to get out and do it again. I mean, I did 13 years. I can do it again. I got, whatever. I get mad at you, I'm going to do it again. That kind of thing. It was something I never thought I'd have to think about. Never thought I'd have to think about. I hope nobody else has to, but I know they do. I just can't believe that this is how I got my education about the justice system and help for people. I mean, he didn't get much help either. Where he ended up, and he, I mean, it's just a bizarre story, and I can laugh about it because I am so removed, and I'm not laughing at people who, like, I constantly think about if I was his mother, or I was still married to him, how I would feel, or if it was my current husband. Oh my God, So the system is wrong. It's not law and order. It's not everybody goes to jail, and nobody gets justice. Because if I was a mother and I lost my child, I would want that person put to death right away. And it's not going to happen. So where is the justice? You have to accept what they can do. If they say, we are going to give this person 13 years, well, that's what can you do? Like I said, I don't know the answers to these things, but maybe somebody else, some bright mind will listen to this and start to think about it and maybe come up with a better way of dealing with these people. I don't know. But so that is my story. That's only part of my story, but that's the only part I'm going to tell you today.
No, I mean, I have reactions. I'll also say too, like, it's funny because I hear your frustration. I hear your anger. I hear you sitting here going like, I got thrown into this situation where I got to stand up to a system that feels really broken. And I do feel like it's very funny because some of the things you're saying, I'm like, well, I'm someone who really believes that we need to fund more social services. I'm someone who feels like you don't just lock someone up and throw away the key. But I'm also someone that goes, if you provide no social safety net for people in terms of mental health services, food security, housing security, all these things that it sounds like your ex-husband was living in a neighborhood where a lot of people were dealing with all these different things. You sit here and you go, yeah, mentally broken people are going to wind up in situations like that, and people are going to mentally break. And if the safety net has so many holes in it for people to fall through, how can you possibly, like, I want to live in a world where we go, yeah, the woman who shits on the floor and then live streams a murder is mentally ill and clearly does need a lot of help. But the answer is not, how do we start just shaving time off to get out sooner? The answer is, how do we legitimately fix stuff, not just for this person, not just for your ex, but for all the people living in hard times and living in places where it is an unspoken and more and more unaddressed squeezing of the human spirit to a point of desperation and unhinged behavior.
Yeah.
Brutal. And I am left with a question that I would rarely ask on the show. I don't know if I would ever ask this one. You've
What's your
mentioned...
name?
No. Believe me, if this was the first one where that came up, and it was second one. One did come up. I think episode 4, and we're on almost 500. But it's I think, on the show I've talked a lot about how I grew up more religious than I am now. But I'm wondering, you've mentioned words like fate and kismet. Do you believe in an afterlife?
I do.
You do, because that's... I keep thinking.
In fact, I will tell you that I've been to a couple of psychics because I wanted to be released from this. Is it over? Can I give it up now? Is he at peace? Have I done enough? I kind of was searching for those answers at certain points. And none of these psychics said anything that helped me. None. And it kind of, maybe you can't find it. Although I've had other instances in my life where I believe I have definitely received signs. So, that maybe it just has to do with you in the universe and the signs, not somebody else telling you what happened or where they are. But definitely believe in an afterlife, although he did not. We used to kind of argue about that. He would say, once you're in the ground, you're in the ground. There's nothing else. And I would say, no, this can't be. This can't be. All this energy, all this talent and everything, unused words, and it can't just disappear. It has, to me, this is just my personal belief, that it lives on. And where that is, I don't know. My parents have been gone for years. And their friends are slowly, and one of their last remaining friends just passed away a couple months ago. And I was like, boy, they are having some party up there, because they were party people, and that's a good thing to have, because I would, rather believe that than that I just am in the ground and I'm dirt. I don't know, but I just do believe in fate and karma and all that kind of stuff. And I don't feel like I had to do this to earn brownie points, but I felt I had to do it for my own personal compass, that I couldn't just take that first phone call and go, I don't know, and hang up. I couldn't have done that. That's why I felt like I was on the path that whole time, to end up in that spot where I played that role to the end of his, I don't know, his journey, his life. It's a strange position to be put in, and in some ways I'm glad I was there, but I wouldn't want to have to do it, But it seems to be over now. for the moment. She has accepted the plea. She started just the beginning of this month. She was transferred to a prison versus jail, and she's now officially serving her sentence, although she has served 5 years already because she was in jail awaiting whatever it was. She never got out from the day she committed the crime until she will eventually get out. And I hope she gets out with a better view of society, but I think I'm a little jaded. I don't think she will. I hope she gets help in prison. I don't know. I that's what I wish, but I don't think it'll happen. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I'd love to hear some stories about people who came out of prison and had changed the world and did. I know there are people like that, but just some rando in the middle of the Bronx who never had a good life and committed this horrendous crime and comes out with a chip on her shoulder. I don't want that person in my neighborhood, you know? So,
yeah, I mean,
there you go.
And the idea that prisons are built for rehabilitation, again, what I hear in your voice is just a complete lack of trust in that idea. And I think a lot of people feel that right now. I'm so struck.
Yeah.
Andrea, in our, my producer Andrea, typed in the document, hearing you talk about asking psychics if he's at peace yet, and them saying no. Andrea and I both typed to each other. Andrea typed, "This is getting me choked up," and I said, "Same." Well, there's something so sweet and sad and beautiful about this idea that he was of the opinion, hey, when you die, you're worm food. You decompose into dirt. And you're the one who sat there and went, no, there has to be more. And that exactly right now, there are two options, which is either he's right, and you're still doing all this stuff in his honor to make sure that a system that feels broken doesn't allow his literal murderer to not face punishment for that crime, or you're right and he is in some sense somewhere else now and able to look down from wherever that might be and go, holy shit, you were right. I shouldn't have doubted you. And I can't believe you stepped up after 25 years and not talking to me. There's something about that that's really profound. Yeah.
That's why I thought this would be a good thing to talk to you about.
Yeah. The layers on this. I mean, I assume it sounds like he passed away in this SRO, and being that you're his only point of contact, it doesn't sound like he ever remarried. It doesn't sound like he was connected with his biological family, at least in a meaningful way after your divorce. It sounds like a lonely life. Meanwhile, you've been married for 25 years. How does your husband of 2 decades, how does he feel seeing you? I have to imagine this did take up a lot of your time and attention.
Yeah, but I tried to shield him from it, and I have spoken to him about it, saying this has nothing to do with my ex-husband as much as it has to do with my feeling of justice for someone who can't speak for themselves. And it's not that I loved him so much that I wouldn't have wanted this to happen to him, but I feel like I was put in this position, and I feel like I've kind of shielded my current husband from this because I didn't want him to feel like it was taking up a lot. And we just spoke about it recently because it was kind of over. And who was around? It was either my brother was around or something. We were talking about it. And I turned to him and said, to my husband. Just this, I love you more than anything, and I would have fought harder if it was you.
Right.
But
I barely liked this guy.
not-
If you get killed,
barely
if you
liked
get
this
stabbed
guy.
in a bodega, imagine what's going to happen to that murderer. Because
Oh
I
my
didn't
God,
even like
the
this dude.
fire. I know. And sometimes I look at that and I go, I'm glad I'm that person. I'm glad I'm that person because, you know, like I said, was this my life's purpose? I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm proud of, and I've had a great life and a great success in my career, and I love what I do. So there's lots of things to be proud of, but to be proud that you're a person who will stand up for somebody who can't speak for themselves, I think is infinitely more important than anything. Really, it's something I would have never ignored. So was that put in my fate? You know, like when they typed up the story of my life, let's throw this at her.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, God.
but it is, I mean, the people who know you, and it's such a death-focused episode, so I don't want to bring up anything awkward, but I sit here and I go,
Mm-hmm.
the people who know you, when you pass away someday, and I hope that's not for a very long time, but the people who know you at your wake, and I mean, you're from the Northeast, and
I know.
you're a bombastic personality, and you know, like for me, I'm guessing you might be Catholic, New Haven, and your accent. I'm sitting here going, "Are you Italian Catholic?" I'm guessing.
It's so funny. I am not Italian. I am Irish, Scottish, and Lithuanian. But I was raised Catholic. Went to Catholic school. I stopped as soon as I left the house to go to college. I was like, religion held nothing for me. Nothing.
That being said, though, we both know an Irish Catholic wake, that's a fun party.
Oh, God.
And people raise a glass.
Oh, yeah.
And for
We
you
say
to know...
after party.
Oh, yeah. The after party for the afterlife. It's those Irish wakes, some of the most fun parties. Some of the best jokes I've ever heard have been at Irish, American Catholic wakes. But to sit there and know, like, the people who really know you at your wake are going to raise a glass and go, here's a person who lived a long, happy life and also taught a whole lot of us who knew her about how to defend people who are in no position to defend themselves.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I haven't thought about that.
That's a hell of a legacy, you know? Hell of a legacy. And to have somebody who protected someone who was gone and in the face of it stood up and went, hey, this whole system is broken. And unfortunately, I know you all just want to stamp a bunch of paperwork, make it easy, and your workload, that the whole court is stressed out with the workload, but we're not going to make this one easy. We're going to talk about this broken system. We're going to talk about this person who needs someone to defend them. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry to tell you, because I get, especially now knowing, I mean, Irish, Scottish, Lithuanian, I can't speak to that whole mix, but a Northeasterner with your accent and Irish Catholic blood, I know that everybody in there, we all know the cynical side of me that's looking at a broken system goes, part of it is that DA probably has 150 cases spilling off of their desk. Those public defenders are sitting here going, this guy died, and the closest person they have is an ex-wife from decades ago. The judge is probably going, this sucks, but I got 100 more things to get to, and people breathing down my neck. And all of these people probably let out a deep sigh when you stood up and went, so sorry to tell you, you guys got to fucking deal with me on this one. And they all went, okay, we're going to have an honest conversation about this system now. And this is a pain in the ass, but we got somebody here who's going to make us accountable. And again, could debate all night long of that broken system probably affected the person who did this heinous crime. It probably affected so many more people in neighborhoods just like theirs all over this country all the time. I'm not trying to be callous, but to hear that you basically went, I'm going to stand up for this guy who's this meaningful but strange blip in my emotional life that I have not thought about in many years. And in the course of it, I'm also going to be able to stand up and go, the whole fucking system's broken and I'm not going to quiet down about it today.
Yeah.
That's something that
so
many of the people who know you are going to
exactly
raise a glass out of respect.
Yeah. It's funny because there's another whole part of my life where I went through infertility and it was unresolved. I never had the child I wanted to have, and partially that may be part of the reason why I divorced when I did. But for 23 years, I volunteered at a hospital as a baby cuddler. And the nurses would come in and say, oh, how many kids do you have? And I'd say, I wasn't lucky enough. And they said, that baby in your arms is lucky enough. And I think about that all the time, that for 23 years, I mean, some of these kids are married now and have their own kids. And I comforted them when they needed it. And that, to me, is enough of a life to have lived and gotten satisfaction out of what kind of person you are. It was just, and I feel like I got so much out of that, being able to comfort a child who was ill and alone, or the parent couldn't be there. Or, it wasn't always that there was no one in their life, but at that moment I was their life. And I hope people get that feeling, because it's so good. It's so good. And I think, what I did for my ex-husband is on that level of like, okay, I feel good about what I did. I don't feel good about the outcome, but I think I did what I could. And I can't change it, but I can follow it, and I do follow it. And if something happens where I will write something when she comes up for parole, and I will ask questions that I would want answered before she's released. Is she rehabilitated? Is she getting help? Did she get education? Is she going to have a job? I mean, these things. So in a sense, what I did for him is now going to transfer to her. I in a way, because who's looking out for her?
You sound like you're someone who feels very exasperated with the system, but not without hope. Not without the idea of, did you all step up and help her get her house in order, her head in the right place?
Yeah.
Has she?
I hope so, because
used the services.
Looking at what she dealt with in her life. Everybody's born innocent, and then things start to happen to you. And like you said, if you're living in the middle of a swamp, it's not pleasant, and you build a tough exterior to stop yourself from getting hurt. And I think that is part of what she did. And she did not want to appear weak or back down from anything. So I'm hoping that shell gets chipped away at, and she's able to become a person who's useful to society. Do I have a lot of hope about that? That's the other thing. So I'm hoping, but do I have a lot of faith in it? I don't know.
That's firm but fair. Yeah. And I got to tell you, probably a lot of people listening going, who through the whole call are going, this is really fascinating. And I don't know if I could love this caller one bit more. Oh, wait, she volunteered as a baby cuddler? I guess I could love her more. And then I'll also say this, too. And again, I mean, there are strong people from all over the world. I'm fascinated by people all over the world, and I don't know. I get on a high horse about the Northeast sometimes, but I sit there and I go, so many of the people I grew up with, you go, a lot of people, if they faced down infertility, that is a brutal process. The last thing they're going to do is volunteer to go cuddle babies.
Yeah.
It could be a reminder of their pain every time it happens. But when you're somebody who grows up facing Connecticut winters or New Jersey drivers or all sorts of stuff like this, I just know my Northeast people, I've always been impressed. It's like, what's the thing that hurts me the most? How do I run face first at it and turn it into something that's an asset instead of this endless source of pain? And
that's funny.
it's badass is what it is. It's badass.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people would describe me that way sometimes. That's for sure. But I started baby cuddling after I divorced him. I moved back to Connecticut, and I said, I had wanted to do this when I was living in New York, but the wait was so long. It was like a 2 to 5 year wait to get to this volunteer position. So when I moved back to Connecticut, my mother had the only cooler volunteer job. She took pictures of infants, like when they're born, the newborn baby pictures. That was a volunteer position in a hospital. And she did that. And she mentioned my mother mentioned something about, oh, my daughter always wanted to be a baby cuddler. And the woman said, oh, well, you call this person and they'll set you up. And I did it. And within a couple of weeks, I'd passed everything. And there I was holding a little baby. And, oh my God. But when I said something to one of the nurses one time, I wasn't lucky enough to have children. She said, well, you're not a mom to one, you're a mom to thousands, even if it's only for a half hour. And I went, oh my God, I love that.
That's incredible.
I love that. And I miss holding babies, but there are no babies where I am now. There's no children's hospital nearby. So otherwise I'd still be doing it.
I'm sure you'll find some other way to be a little selfless, spread a little bit of positivity, do your part. Our time is up on the free feed. This has been an amazing call. I can't imagine getting the call you got and being thrown into the situation you got thrown into, and really fascinating. I thank you so much. Are you cool to hang behind the paywall for a few minutes and answer some questions from our listeners?
Sure am. It was so good to talk to you. I'm so happy I got to talk to you finally.
I feel so lucky to hear your story and to be overwhelmed by it. Caller, I can't thank you enough for telling us that story. It's like a movie that unfolded in your life in a way I never would have seen coming. And I'm sure you feel that way too. It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you to Andrea Quinn for producing our show. Thank you to Shellshag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me, including where to get tickets to that show hosted by Chris Gethard at the UCB Theater in New York City, go to punchup.live/Chris Gethard. We have a voicemail line. It's 973-306-4676. We're on Instagram at Beautiful Anonymous Pod. Don't forget to join the Facebook group at Beautiful Anonymous, the community. And we just started a TikTok account, which is beautiful.anonymous. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. But you and I also did grow up in an area of the country where the water is notoriously good. The New York metro area, good water.
New York, great
Yeah.
water. New York tap water is the best. Anybody buying bottled water in New York
In New
City,
York, yeah.
I'm like, man, that water takes up tons of plastic. Shipping
Comes
it
right down from beautiful aquifer. Yeah.
Ooh, comes right down from the Croton Reservoir, and it tastes delicious right out of the pipes, baby. You don't even need to mess around with that. No way. That being said, when I go and visit my parents in Florida and I feel like I smell worse after I take a shower because the water has so much sulfur in it, I'm not drinking that from the
Sulfur
tap.
in it. Yeah.
All
I
right.
hear you.
Okay, you're my best friend. I don't know if you've picked up on this, but me and you are best friends. Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.